Hi, welcome back. I'm Scott Gano, an attorney at Faruqi, Ireland & Cox, and we're continuing our series on the Internet of Things, where we've been discussing cloud technology. With me again is Tim Reddig, CEO of Intrust IT. And you may remember in our last discussion, we were talking about security, how the cloud impacts security and layers of security that are relevant to consideration of whether you're going to put your information in the cloud or not. I encourage you to go back and check out that video, as a lot of what we talked about there may be used in this discussion as well. But turning to our discussion and our drawing here on the board that we've used a few times now, is the question about, okay, we've talked about putting our data out there. How does this actually work to secure it? If it's down the room in a server room, I know what I've got implemented on that server or on that system. If I'm putting it out in the cloud, how is this information being actually secured, and how do I have confidence that the cloud service provider is doing it? How do they do it?
So that's a great question. I'm going to go back to my great whiteboard here, my great drawing, to talk about the different services and how they are going to secure your data. So at the basic level down here, co-location, as we spoke about before, is where you take your equipment out of your office and you put it in somebody else's data center. And at that point, they're going to physically secure it, which is probably much better than what you have in your office. So they're going to have guards, they're going to have videotaping, they're going to have biometric security, and a much more secure environment than what you have in your office.
Can I stop you there just real fast? Physical security, very low-tech stuff in some respects, locks, safeguards, guards, hugely overlooked a lot of the times. It's such a basic premise of any security program. A lot of clients overlook it, and that ultimately ends up being the weakness in their layer. So great service provided if you have it, especially more so than you might have in your office. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. And one way that you can verify that, obviously, you can go to the data center and do a tour, which many of them will do that for you. But if you're putting your data somewhere else in the country for some redundancy needs, you may not be able to do that tour. So they have an SSAE 16 audit that can be done by a third party to verify, certify that that data center meets all the requirements that you're going to need for pretty much any of the different compliance requirements that are out there. So that's one of the first things I would look at in any data center I'm going to put my data in. Moving up to infrastructure as a service, you don't gain very much additional security there, because at that level you're just pretty much renting hardware and storage with a provider. And there are some capabilities there. A lot of times you're going to use their firewalls for your traffic to go in and out of their systems. So at that point you're going to want to know more about their firewalls, if they have intrusion prevention and detection available and logging, those types of things that you can investigate for your traffic that comes in and out. And then also the other thing they'll set up in some cases is a virtual private cloud that actually will allow you to have a encrypted tunnel from their environment back to your location. So that's another way that you can ensure that your data is secure here. You're still controlling everything above this, and that allows you to encrypt your data or do whatever you want, so that even if somebody were at the provider to gain access physically to your servers, you can have your data encrypted there and not have to be concerned about it. Moving up to the platform as a service, those are small businesses usually don't use these services. It's mostly companies that are developing software. But at that layer, you need to be aware of what their operating system is and how they're patching it. A good example of that would be the recent Heartbleed that came up. It was a vulnerability in a lot of systems that are out there. And since you don't have control of the operating systems in platform as a service, somebody else is controlling that, you needed to make sure that they actually went through and got rid of that vulnerability by updating their systems. So if you're with a good provider that's going to do that, and it's written into the SLAs that they keep things up to date, then you're covered for that type of environment. And then finally, moving up to software as a service, this is where it gets a lot more cumbersome to decide how secure their systems are, because of the fact that they're controlling everything below this and you're just putting your data into that. So if you're at a large provider like a Salesforce.com or Microsoft or Google or something like that, you have a lot more visibility into what they have available or what their security measures are, because they've been audited, and they make all those reports available on the internet that you can review to see what their compliance is. So an example there would be like Office 365. They have a HIPAA compliant version of that that's available, and you can actually get a business association agreement from them to make sure that your data, your PHI, your private health information that's out there is actually in a secure environment.
So you're seeing a theme here in many, many ways. Whether you're in-house or whether you're in the cloud, you've got these layers that you have to secure. So whether you use the technology or you don't, you're still going to have to address that cloud technology provides you a different way to go about it, maybe a superior way to go about it, considering your staff or your business size or your budget for that matter. In our last discussion, we'll wrap things up and talk a little bit more about security at the administrative level, some legal things to consider with cloud technology. And thanks for joining us. I'm Scott Gano, and this is Tim Reddick for our Privacy Update today.
Thank you.